And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Today we're going to talk about a game that's been out for a while, Race for the Galaxy. Now, my copy of Race for the Galaxy I actually bought in Korea. I walked into a game store there, saw it, didn't know much about it, but it had a space theme, so I gave it a try. On the way home, I read the rule book and I was like, what is this? It seemed a bit confusing. And the game can seem a bit confusing to new players. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the game and why I enjoy it so much. And then we're going to come back and talk about why I like it so much, because it is one of my favorite games. So here we have some of the cards of the game. And what each player is going to get in the course of the game is they're going to get a bunch of cards with their aliens in the back of their color. And these cards have different phases on them. We'll talk about them in a minute. And then each player is going to get one of these starting planets. So let's pick Epsilon Eridani. So that's my starting planet. And then the game actually has a starting hand of cards if you've never played before. But otherwise, you're going to draw 6 and keep 4 of these cards. And this is a planet that I have in what is called my tableau. And let's take a look at this planet real quickly. And I'm going to put this planet right next to technology. Okay? The way I can tell the difference between its planet and technology is that planets have a round circle right here. You can see that 2 is in a round circle, and the technology has a diamond. The little hexagon after both of them is how many victory points they're worth at the end of the game. Everything else here are special abilities that they give you. Okay, so for example, my starting planet here gives me +1 military strength and allows me to trade a good in for a victory point and a card. You say, how do you tell that? Well, you'll see. The game takes place like this. Each player is going to choose one of these cards. In each round, each player is going to choose one of these cards that they have in their hand and play it face down. Whatever that card says, so let's say I turn this over and it's Explore. Everybody is going to do the Explore phase. However, since I played the Explore card, I am going to get a special benefit that affects only me. Unless, of course, 2 people play the Explore card, then we would both get the benefits. So if you're playing, for example, a 4-player game and all 4 people play different cards, you will play 4 rounds, 4 phases, and each person would have a special ability in their phase. So let's talk about the special abilities. In phase 1, that lets you draw cards from the deck. Normally you draw 2 and keep 1. But if you're the person who played the card, there's actually 2 different ones you can play. This one lets you draw 3 and keep 2. You do that if you want more cards. And this one lets you draw 6 and keep 1, which you do if you're looking for a specific card. Development lets you play developments from your hand on the table, and whoever plays it can do it for 1 less resource. Settle lets you play a planet, and the person who played it gets to draw a card after they've done it. 4s, there's 2 of them. They let you sell your resources on your planets for money and or points. One gives you money, the other one gives you double points. And then 5 lets you produce on a planet. Now you might be confused about all this, but here's a cool feature of the game. These planets here, these starting planets, are also money. They're also resources. Cards in this game have 3 different ways that they can work. And this all kind of functions around planets. Now if you notice, this planet here has a gray circle in it. But there are actually 4 different color planets, kinds of planets in the game. There's blue, brown, green, and yellow, which happen to be different resources that those planets will produce. And the gray planet doesn't produce any resource. But it gets even a little bit more complicated than that, because there are actually, the 4 colors can have the ring around the outside or the ring on the inside. Now, whenever these planets produce a resource, let's say this alien robotic factory here produces a resource, I just draw a card from the deck. I don't look at it because it doesn't mean anything, and I stick it under there. That card is equivalent to a yellow resource. Now the difference between this planet here, which is called a windfall planet, is that when I play this in front of me, I will start with the resource. But as the game progresses, I don't get to produce on that planet unless I have a special ability that lets me do it, or if I'm the one who plays the produce card. This one does not start with the planet, but every time we play the produce card, it will produce a resource. You can only have 1 resource. But these resources can be sold for points and or money. Money is basically drawing more cards in your hand. It's a good way to get cards. More cards in your hands. And points, well, there's a pile of point tokens in the game and you put them out depending on how many players are in the game, and you get points every time you deliver resources. Of course, you need a special ability on the card that lets you do it, but as you remember, my starting planet lets me sell a good, or during the phase, I can trade in any color good. It shows all 4 colors for 1 point and 1 card. And if I am the person who plays this one here, the consume card here, this one, that I'll get double points, so I would get 2 points. All right, well, still confused probably, and I would have to show you how to play the game in person, but let's talk about a few more things. When you put out a planet, there's 2 different kinds of planets besides the colors. If the circle is red, like this one, or black. If it's a black planet, it's a peaceful planet, and again, that you simply buy it or you trade for it. So this one has a big 1 in the circle, so if I put out a planet, I discard a card and 1 card, and I can put that planet out. For a warfare planet, it's a little bit different. I need to have warfare of 2 to put this out. Now, my starting planet gave me +1 warfare here, and let's say I played this expedition force here for another warfare. Now I have 2. So when it's time to put out a planet, I can put this planet out in front of me for free because it's 2. So it's easy to get out these war planets if you build up your military, and you don't have to discard any cards from your hand. Then the technology you just pay for, just like a peaceful planet. And there are some technologies as the game progresses that have these 6s in them, and they're going to give you points at the end of the game for different things. For example, take a look at this guy here. He'll give you points for your total military power at the end of the game. Or this one here gives you 2 for every green world, the genes worlds, and 1 for every other military world, and 3 if you have the card Contact Specialist. And you can see each of these gives different abilities and different points. The game is over when one player has 12 cards in their tableau, so 2 rows of 6, or when all the points tokens in the middle are gone. At that point, you will add any points you got for selling goods to the point value of all your cards, including these special ones, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Now, be forewarned that I did not explain every rule of the game to you. There's a lot of things involved in this game, and they mostly have to do with the different special abilities on each of the card. But what's nice is each special ability on the card tells you what phase it's done in. So, for example, this one here, Pilgrimage World, that special ability is done in phase 4. And also in phase 4. This one, when you sell something, you get an extra $1. This one here gives you, you can trade this card in for 3 military. This one here, you draw a card in phase 2. And if you forget, the game actually comes with some, with some cards that show all the icons. Although with new players, I don't show these cards because they can be overwhelming. This shows you all the different phases and how they work, and this shows you all the different possible icons, even though they do add more icons in the expansion. Again, that's not everything. There's other rules. You can only have 10 cards in your hand at the end of each round, and so on and so forth. But for the most part, that's how the game works. Most points is the winner. You can win just as much by production, trading in resources, as you can by building really expensive planets and getting them out there. Both are very viable, and you can do a mixture of the two. So that's Race for the Galaxy, and there are 3 expansions for it, and more on the way. But interestingly enough, while I think the expansions add some to the game, they mostly add more cards that I like. They don't add any new mechanics that I think are that enjoyable. I'll talk about these in a future show where I'll take each of the expansions and talk about them. But none of them really impressed me as much as the original game itself. I really was a big fan of this. It plays smoothly. I like throwing in some cards. Now, teaching the game is a bear because there's so many different things going on, so many icons all over the place. Some people pick it up, but most people don't. In fact, I kind of enjoy playing it with people who know what they're doing because we can play it so quickly. I very much enjoy the 2-player advanced variant where both players get to play 2 cards and you do both of them. I enjoy that a lot. There is no doubt, some people will argue this to the core, but there is no doubt that this is fairly multiplayer solitaire. You watch what everyone else is doing because you want to see if they got cards that you're looking for, and maybe seeing what they do helps you determine when you're going to end the game. And I guess you can bluff or try to think what action they're going to play. So there is some interaction. Okay, so it's not completely my game and your game, but it is mostly that. The theme does come through. The cards work well, And if the game was easier, it would be amazingly fun. I think the reason it's not my top 10 is simply because it's harder for me to find opponents, because I am quite good at the game at this point in time, at least amongst people who don't know what they're doing. If I play, I'm sure professionals, I would lose. But I feel like I know what I'm doing, and it's a very entertaining game, but it almost needs equal skill levels. Even with all the luck in the deck, it's just that when you get cards, you think, okay, these cards could possibly come out. This is what I should do in this situation, and there is a skill that comes with the game. So either way, though, it's so interesting, and there's so many different paths to victory, really, in so many different ways. The 6 technologies kind of drive it. It's just very intriguing, and I like playing it a lot still. Race for the Galaxy.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.